In the bottle that was dropped by the slime, Woojin put the slime fluid in his fingers. The spirit chef starts panicking and warns Woojin to not eat the slime fluid, but this crazy guy had already put his finger in his mouth like he was licking a honey. The spirit chef was so worried at Woojin and told him that slimes contain instant poison. Although you won't die eating that, but you will get an upset stomach from it. But the spirit chef starts to get confused because Woojin seems to be okay while tasting that weird stuff. Woojin looks at the spirit chef and said, "It was just sweet at first, so I thought I would get bored of it, but that wasn't really the case. The sharp bitterness and the spiciness that came afterward balanced it out." Looking at Woojin, the spirit chef was dumbfounded and started to question how Woojin was alright even after taking that slime fluid, which contains instant poison. But Woojin was still talking about the taste, saying that the slime fluid would be great for making desserts or marinating the meat. The spirit chef, who can't understand the situation, asks, "Well, I am glad you are not hurt, but what kind of dish are you planning to make?" Woojin starts thinking, and he thinks about the instant poison that the slime has. Woojin, who is a great martial master, starts using his energy. He starts emitting the heat energy to eliminate the poison of the slime fluid. And then the slime fluid slowly changed its composition. Then he immediately emits cool energy to absorb the heat. He looks at it and starts asking if the slime fluid coagulate properly. He took a taste at the solidified slime fluid. And this cook fanatic starts thinking while chewing the slime fluid, who was known as a poisonous substance. Woojin told the spirit chef that it tasted great and he has now decided on what dish he will make. This makes the spirit chef excited. Woojin said that he will going to make red bean paste jelly. The spirit chef starts to question what is that. And Woojin is now in front of a large number of slimes on the first floor. He told the spirit chef that he will need quite a lot of ingredients. Woojin moves deeper on the first floor of the tutorial tower. There are many items on the floor that was left behind, and this stalker was still following Woojin. He starts to think that Woojin is a strange fellow. He grabs a spear that was left on the floor. Looking at the spear, the stalker thinks that the condition of the spear is not that great, but this would still be considered a decent item. The stalker was silent, thinking about the action of Woojin. In his mind, he discarded all the items and only took all the byproducts of the slime. The more I think about it, the stranger it is. I mean, weapons drop once in a while, but byproducts drop 2 or 3 at a time. I guess he is interested in slime, which is a trash items. He starts to question why Woojin likes to collect the slime trash items. In his mind, slime fluids and cores contain toxins that causes enteritis. There is only one reason someone would collect these in the tutorial tower. It must be tutorial tower's hidden piece. But at this moment, that item hasn't been revealed yet. The stalker starts thinking something different. His emotion starts to darken and he starts to question in his mind, could it be that the future has already changed? There is no way for that to happen. After thinking that deeply, he runs faster to chase Woojin. He starts to become anxious. In his mind, the secret tome contractor. I have no idea who he is. Damn it, I should have hurried. The stalker was about to reach the end of the first floor, and he was able to enter a new area on the tutorial tower. The stalker was panting, and there are many drop items on the floor, and the one who was in front of those items on the ground was no other than Woojin and his spirit of the secret tome. The spirit chef called Woojin, and she seems to be worried. Woojin starts to question if that is the face of the guy who is following them. Woojin looks at the eyes of the stalker. This stalker starts to get conscious of why Woojin looks at him. Now that Woojin sees this guy personally, it is now clear to him that this guy is looking at the spirit of the secret tome. Woojin was quite curious to see how it looks, but he didn't mind this stalker since he is more focused on his cooking. The stalker was so sure that Woojin was the strange fellow that he was following. Since there are no items in front of him, he was now sure that Woojin is the one who took down all the slimes. In the stalker's mind, I don't know what kind of secret tome spirit it is, but he was definitely a contractor. I get it after seeing his calm demeanor. But a hunter aspirant formed a contract with the secret tome, which is a legendary item. If there is a person or group that could give such a rare and hard-to-find secret tome to a mere aspirant, it has to be those guys. The stalker starts to question if Woojin could be one of those guys he was referring to. He was alarmed when he looks at Woojin's aura, who is only a few meters away from him. For his point of view, Woojin's eye could kill someone from just looking. The stalker raised his hand, seeing Woojin's eyes. He told Woojin that he doesn't want to fight. He just put his guard up because he suddenly saw someone, because after all, the tutorial tower is highly competitive. In the stalker's mind, damn it, who exactly is he? There is no doubt that he is extraordinary. I don't remember him. He could ruin my plans. I don't need to draw suspicion, but I can't just ignore it. I need to find out why is he collecting the slime byproducts. Woojin, on the other hand, lowers his guard down. He told the stalker that he is right because after all, violence between people is prohibited in the tower, but it is just a superficial rule. Woojin starts walking towards the stalker. The stalker starts to get alarmed about it. In his mind, oh, what is he doing? He is coming towards me. Could it be something? This guy, as I thought, he is one of them. As Woojin slowly steps forward to where the stalker is standing, this stalker starts to raise his guard up and his grip on the spear starts to get stronger. But Woojin just offers his hand and introduces himself and told that stalker that his name is Cheon Woojin. The stalker starts to get confused because that is an action that he did not expect. Woojin just smiled at him like an innocent puppy. The stalker shakes the hand of Woojin and introduces himself as Cheon. Woojin smiled and told him that it was nice to meet him. Cheon starts scratching his neck to avoid awkwardness. He asks, "Have you seen that yet, Woojin?" Woojin asks him what does he mean. Cheon points at the item on the floor. He asks, "The slimes dropped by weapons are all over the labyrinth? Isn't that odd?" Woojin asks him what is odd about it. Cheon replied, "I mean, we hunt slimes in the tutorial tower for farming equipment, right? But there is this weirdo who doesn't collect the weapons and simply kill the slimes. But this weirdo who he is referring to that does not collect the items is no other than Woojin." And Woojin told him that he is actually the one who killed those slimes. Cheon was shocked, asking him what. He started sweating as he was confused about the situation. In his mind, he just admitted that way too easily. What exactly is this guy's deal? Is he not one of those guys? They are extremely sensitive about revealing their identities. They wouldn't act so conspicuously. If he is not with them, what exactly is his goal here? Cheon smiled, saying that Woojin must be so impressive and climbing the tutorial tower must be a breeze for him. Cheon points on the other side and said, "Well, we both have stuff to do, so I will get going now." Woojin replied, "Sure, see you later." As he walks away, Cheon was still curious about the plans of Woojin. In his mind, it is highly unlikely that he is not one of those guys, but he was collecting slime byproducts. The hidden piece of the tutorial tower that will be revealed 20 years from now. Cheon Woojin, he might also know about it as well. He starts to question if perhaps he was also like him. 30 years from now, the world gets destroyed. But Cheon was granted a miracle just before the world's destruction, and that is to regress and go back to the past. Although he returned to the world 30 years ago with the power of a miracle, he did not recall the name Cheon Woojin. Cheon was thinking that if Cheon Woojin was not part of the group he had mentioned before, could it be that Woojin also received a miracle or experienced regression like him? For Cheon, it is not possible to happen, and he is just worrying for no reason. Cheon was thinking that he should just focus on his own tasks, because if he loses the hidden piece to someone, all his plans for growth until the day of destruction will completely collapse. On the other hand, Woojin was thinking that Cheon is quite a funny one, even though he doesn't know who he really was. In Woojin's mind, except for the moment we shook hands, he always kept his distance from me. Even after seeing the spirit of the secret tome, he quickly hid his expression. Unlike his appearance, he seems to be quite sly. Woojin could only smile thinking about it. That is because for him, Cheon might just be similar to him. Now these two fellows have crossed their paths, a regressor and someone reincarnated into a new body with his past memories. All the slimes in the area were slain down, and those items that should be looted were left behind on the ground. Because the MC was a strange fellow who focuses on collecting poisonous slime fluid, which is actually useless for others. Woojin was thinking after hunting all of those slimes, all the ingredients he collected should be enough. He also cleans the area for his cooking show and told the spirit chef that the place should be cleaned enough. Woojin told the chef fairy that now is the time to start their cooking. But the chef spirit was like our internet speed and was slow enough to grasp what Woojin actually meant. Woojin asks her for a pot, but the spirit chef was still confused and asks Woojin what is a pot for. Woojin took a deep sigh and said, I can't cook with my bare hands. You are the spirit from the dungeon's secret tome. There must be a way to cook within the dungeon, right? The chef fairy started panicking now that she understood what Woojin meant. She told Woojin that it felt like her mind was slipping. The spirit chef suddenly cast something and a bright light slowly appeared. Then a large pot was summoned. The spirit chef said, "You are right for that, chef. Leave the tools to me. I can summon them anytime." Woojin said, "Please get me a square mold and a spatula too. A silicone one would also be great." The spirit chef said that he understood what Woojin meant and summoned the requested items. Then now that it is fully prepared, Woojin asks the spirit chef if they should start. The spirit chef was so excited and said yes. Woojin grabs the ingredients. The dish he will be making is a slime jelly. A slime's fluid and core are the best ingredients for the dish he will going to make. For Woojin, the slime core shines from within. It might have a different texture compared to other parts, so he wants to try using it in a different way. As for the inner part, it doesn't mix with the fluid, so he plans to use this to create patterns. The core has a chewy texture, so he just chops it separately and uses it like tapioca. He boils the slime fluid to nullify the poisonous properties, and then he pours it into the mold. While the edges firm slightly, he plans to add the chopped core from earlier into the jelly that is only partially solid. He slowly adds the chopped core on the mold with jelly. And the inner part that he melted in the pot is the key here, but cooling it too much will ruin its texture. So he pour it in now while it is only slightly cooled. Then stir to create patterns in the jelly. Depending on the pattern, the texture and taste will vary, so it won't be boring. Then he uses a skill after letting out the heat. That skill is called the freezing chill screen. Then lastly flip the mold to take out the jelly. Then with this the slim jelly is complete. These vibes felt like dungeon meshy anime. The spirit chef was so excited looking at the food. She was so excited and told Woojin to hurry up and cut the jelly quickly. Woojin just told her to calm down. Then a notification panel pops up saying that the dish is complete and the new recipe will be recorded. The system starts assessing the grade of the food. The two of them were alarmed of the sudden pop of the notification window. Then the information for Cheon Woojin's slime jelly starts loading and they look at it to view the result. For the result, the grade of the slime jelly is just grade F. Woojin was sweating and starts to question why was his cooking is only grade F. The spirit chef just smiled to cheer up the mood and told Woojin that they need to wait till the end. The spirit chef told Woojin that the quality result hasn't come out yet as they saw in the window panel and it is still under evaluation. But Woojin was already so down about the grade of his food. He asks the spirit chef if the quality is much more important than the grade. The spirit chef replied, "Yes, of course." And then many notifications pop up and the spirit chef was shocked to see that the food is a grade quality. And Woojin unlocks new recipes due to its achievements. The spirit chef said, "Congratulations, Chef Woojin. Achieving the A grade quality is so amazing." But Woojin was still so down. He asks, "Is it good?" But the grade is F. The spirit chef replied, "Of course, it is good." The spirit chef was so excited about tasting the food since she could not resist it. She summons the knife to cut it down. The spirit chef asks, "You asked about the grade and quality, didn't you? Is it okay if I explain while eating?" Woojin said that he doesn't care about that, so the spirit chef cuts already the slime jelly that Woojin created. She thanks Woojin for the meal and starts biting it. The spirit chef was so happy about the food. She said, "Wow, this is so unbelievable. How is it so delicious? Contracting with you, chef, was the best decision of my life." Woojin smiled and was happy to hear the praise of the spirit chef. The spirit chef starts to remember that she needs to explain to Woojin about the difference between the quality and grade. She said, "Oh right, the quality represents how tasty the dish is. A grade belongs to the realm of gourmet dining, like fine dining or high-grade omakase, which means I trust you, chef." Woojin asks the spirit chef about what does the grade mean. The spirit chef replied, the grade indicates the difficulty of preparing the dish. Since the recipe for the slime jelly is simple, so it is rated low. The spirit chef told Woojin that the higher the quality and the grade, the more points you will earn, or he can earn achievements with exceptional skills like he did right now. Woojin also starts tasting the food. In his mind, the subtle bitterness and spiciness that come up when the sweetness is about to bore you really go well together. The slime cores added to improve the texture also make the eating experience enjoyable. That was a good choice. The spirit chef said, recipes have also been unlocked. Congratulations, chef. You see, recipes are the highlights of the dungeon chef's secret tome. She told Woojin that she can buy them with points, and recipes for all kinds of delicacies are all available now. Woojin starts looking at the window panel thinking about the recipes that can be unlocked. The spirit chef looks at Woojin and she was thinking that this guy seems nonchalant, but it still makes sense since he has been creating recipes from the start. Woojin told the spirit chef that there aren't enough points to unlock everything. The spirit chef told Woojin that he has definitely earned a lot of points. The spirit chef says that normally one clears the quest and unlock recipes, starting with the low-grade ones and gradually increasing the proficiency and quality. Woojin said that it looks like he didn't go with the conventional training method. The spirit chef could only laugh and told Woojin that he is right. The spirit chef told Woojin that typically, he should clear quest and collect points, then unlock recipes and cook accordingly. After all, cooking according to the recipe make it easier to obtain a high quality. A high quality must be achieved for the cooking level to rise quickly, and Woojin needs to level up to unlock higher grades recipes. The spirit chef said, honestly, this hasn't happened for thousands of years. Creating new recipes with such high quality cooking and reaching level 4. Woojin said, so, I leveled up and received points by creating recipes without even doing quests. The spirit chef replied, that is right. You can also make new dishes as you are now. Woojin looks at those dead slimes. In his mind, only hunters can receive quests from the secret tome. Quickly clearing them to become a hunter might be a method too. But dungeons are places where you can obtain unknown ingredients. I am reluctant to leave right away. Woojin told the spirit chef that they needed to go and try the other dishes as well. He was thinking that there are about 2 weeks left until the tutorial tower closes. Woojin enters the second floor of the tutorial tower, and there is a trap that welcomes him as many spears goes out from the area. But Woojin just stands on the center and just parry those spears without much effort. And then another trap on the ground was seen in which if you fall, you will become barbecue with those sharp spikes below. But Woojin just jumps from it. The second floor is the place where many things change. The difficulty of traps intensifies. And every slime has a unique attribute, making them tricky to handle. So even for those who could wander around freely on the first floor, now they need to focus for their survival on the second floor. But that wasn't a problem for Woojin, and he just casually cook inside the dungeon without thinking about the danger. He is a person who walks on his own path, which is a chef. I don't know why this guy wants to be the greatest chef, even his skills lie in different areas. Like me, I want to be the greatest scientist, but I am so dumb, so I am writing this script for you. Going back, now Woojin created another dish, which is a red slime jam, and he also level up. The spirit chef tasted the jam. She said, this jam is fantastic reinterpreted dish that breaks the stereotype that jams are too sweet. But Woojin told her that it was just another failed dish. Hearing that made the spirit chef shock. She said, what? Where is the flaw in this perfect dish? Plus, you made so many dishes in just 10 days. The spirit chef told Woojin that the spirit tome has gone up by 3 levels, and he had gained a whopping 15 more points. But Woojin was not satisfied with that and starts asking the spirit chef if he is not skilled enough. Woojin starts thinking deeply. In his mind, no, there is a limit to these ingredients. I have searched the first and second floors of Tutorial Tower for 10 days. There are only green slimes on the first floor, but the second floor has slimes with different attributes. The taste varied slightly depending on the attribute, but that's about it. There is a limit with the slimes. It's a pity. If only a little chocolate was added, it would have been perfect. The spirit chef seems to worried about the reaction of Woojin, so she called him. She said, you are the most talented chef I have ever seen, but everyone needs foundational knowledge for the product to turn well. The passion to create new dishes is a virtue necessary for a chef. You have a brilliant talent, chef, but you don't have knowledge about dungeon cooking. Rather than creating new recipes, I think it is important for you to build a foundation by referencing to existing recipes. Woojin seems to be a logical person and understand what the spirit chef said. He told the spirit chef that she was right. He wants to look at the system window and start from the beginning step by step. The spirit was happy to hear that Woojin seems to cheer up. Woojin starts to scan the recipes, and what caught his eyes is the one that cost the most points, the King Slime Sherbet. Woojin thinks that King Sherbet sounds interesting, so he wants to go with that, and he clicked the King Slime Sherbet. He purchased the King Slime Sherbet recipe, and the main ingredients are King Slime's fluid and the King Slime's core, but the applicable ingredients are still unregistered. Woojin starts thinking because there's no monster named King Slime in the tutorial tower though. He starts asking if he needs to leave the tower. But the system shows him the way, and the King Slime fluid and King Slime cube was actually located in the tutorial tower 3rd floor. For Woojin, things are going great since he already located the exit for the 3rd floor. He told the spirit chef that they need to go now since his next goal is to create the King Slime Sherbet.